Hey guys, it's time to come clean about something. It happened 17 years ago in Coach Nick Saban's office. It involved me, my good friend Jay Pope, and a good friend of mine, Kenny Daigle. You do not want to miss this episode. Hey, we almost went to jail that night. Great story. Stay with us now. You don't want to miss this episode. Welcome to Inside the Red Zone with Coach Smith and Mrs. Coach Smith. Hey, before we get started, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. In today's podcast, you're going to hear about the funnest, the best recruiting trip ever, Coach Pope. You're going to hear about Coach Saban's desk, something that went on with his desk, his famous straw hat, and the famous recruiting room. Welcome to the show there, Coach Jay Pope.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Man, that was a great time, some great memories, and I cannot wait to get into it. Man, we had a good time, didn't we?
Probably too good. Probably too good.
Well, from what I hear and what I understand, it was years and years and years of really good times, right?
It really did. Really,
A lot of good years.
It all runs into each other sometimes. There's so many memories.
But I always say, like, you guys always remember every game. You can remember colors. You remember names. You remember scores. You remember what player was where and that just amazes me.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of emotion being around the kids and the environment we're in. And so you link those with emotions.
Yep. Well, we are so honored that you're here with us, and we're super excited just to get to hang out and talk to you and hear some fun stories. But the biggest thing is this story. Like, this story you guys have been hanging on to for 17
Hey,
years.
the reason we hung on to it because Nick Saban was still working. We'd have probably got fired from our jobs. That sucker's got so much power and everything. So, hey, I got Coach Pope. So when Nick Saban retired, I was on the phone the next day. Coach Pope, he's retired. We can go public. What we did in Nick Saban's office, man. We had a ball, man.
And you don't think if this might get to him? Like, does it matter now? I mean, somebody's probably going to share it.
I would be honored if somebody want to come in my office and hang out, snuck in. I think he'd be okay with it now, 17 years later.
Well, one of my dreams, honestly, is to get to talk to Miss Terry. I want to hang out with Miss Terry and talk to her sometime. So maybe we can make that happen off of this story.
Man, wouldn't that be cool? I try to reach out to Coach Saban, maybe Zoom him right now while we was doing this, but I think he had a little bit more important things to do than hanging out with me and Coach Pope right
You
here.
couldn't get through.
No,
right?
I couldn't get through.
Well, let me ask Coach Pope really quick, because how long have you been coaching?
Ooh, I think this is my 30th year total.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Don't seem like it's been that long, but it has.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having a good time.
Well, exactly. And when you're doing what you love, they always say you don't work a day in your life if you're doing what you love. And you love that.
So
just
true.
like he loves that. That's so awesome. Y'all got a calling and a purpose for that specifically.
Me and Coach Pope go a ways back. Back in the 80s when I went to Shaw, he went to Theodore. Then we coached against each other. Then we had the opportunity to work with each other for 5 years at Davidson. Man, what a great staff, Coach Fred Riley staff and all those guys. And then our daughters, Mary Hannah and Sarah Pope, played on a travel softball team. So, man, for like years. And, man, we was part of that travel softball team, had some great nights on Friday nights and Saturday mornings. We was at the ballpark cheering on the Thrillers, man.
Yep. And some cookouts and camping and
campers on the road. And girls and ball, and that's fun. Right. So y'all spent a lot of time together.
We did.
We had a lot of memories together, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm dying to hear about this very special moment. Out of all the things that you guys have done and everything, this one seems to be the one you've been hanging on to the most. So for 17 years, go ahead and get us started and kick it off and tell us about the recruiting trip to Alabama, who all went, and what game was that?
You want to start off first, Coach Pope, answering that?
Because this big secret is about I mean, these guys are hanging on, wanting to know, okay, what's the secret?
Well, your memory might be a little better than mine, so I think you are starting.
I'm going to start, please, out here. Okay, let me tell you the scenario. This was back in 2007. This was Nick Saban's first year at Alabama. All right. So the game was versus LSU. This was the first time he played LSU when he became the coach at Alabama. Of course, you know, after he left LSU, he went to work for the Dolphins for a few years. Then he came back to Alabama. So this was a 2:30 CBS game versus LSU. Big time. It was a big game of the week. It was packed out of 100-something thousand. So we had a kid that we took up there named Keyron Wilson. At the time, Alabama was looking at him, and Ron Middleton was the recruiting coordinator at Alabama that was recruiting the Mobile area. He said, "Hey guys, y'all need to bring Keyron up to the game." So man, my mind started spinning. I said, "Coach Pope, we got a chance to go watch Alabama LSU play. Nick Saban playing LSU for the first time." Coach Kenny Daigle was a high school recruiting coordinator at Davidson at the time. So I told Coach Riley about it. He said, "Man, y'all go." So I got a hold of Coach Daigle, and all of us went. So we got Keyron, and we had another coach, Chris Satazio, went on that trip with us. So man, we headed to Tuscaloosa. And so tell them about that road trip on the way up there, Coach Daigle.
Okay, so first of all, you were the instigator then, right? You instigated
a little bit, yeah.
Okay,
So,
okay.
Well, knowing how big a Alabama fan I was, and I think all of us are huge Alabama. We were not gonna not go on this trip, and so we loaded up. I remember we loaded up. Everybody's riding together, and Coach Daigle's asleep in the back, and he'd had a long night, and
he was sleeping on y'all.
Oh yeah, and me and Dame's cutting up, listening to Rodney Carrington, and
I don't think Keyron liked Rodney Carrington too much. Man, we was good. He the one introduced me to Rodney Carrington. I've never heard of that guy. He brought it up. We laughed the whole way, man.
And I mean, my side was hurting the whole trip, hurting. But got up, got some early lunch, and got on into Tuscaloosa and ready to roll.
Yeah. You know, in that particular game, Alabama was up late, and LSU scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to beat them like 41 to 34, something like that. That's the game. Javier Arenas returned a punt, 61 yards. I mean, it was just it was a lot of fun, an exciting game. The only bad thing about it, Bama didn't win that game, but they won their share versus LSU. But let's talk about just recruiting trips more, man, before we start talking about the game. So,
yeah, because you've already said several things that I want to make some notes and go back and touch on. But the next thing that I think everybody's going to want to know is just walk us through a little bit about what happened actually when you got into Tuscaloosa, and then when you're taking a recruit, you go to the Malmore complex, right?
That's right.
So tell us what happened once you got settled and you get to the Malmore athletic complex.
All right.
Do you remember?
Oh, absolutely. Like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
So,
we get there, and we assigned a recruiting girl who gets to kind of show the recruits around. And if I remember right, we kind of wandered off by ourselves a little bit because they had already been there, or, wanted to go play some video games or something with the other recruits. And
so once you get there with the recruits, then they're assigned to one of the girls,
and they call it the Bama Bells.
The Bama Bells.
Yeah.
And so the guys were going on to their next part. That left 3 coaches together in the Malmore complex, right?
That's right. So the little girl, the Bama Bell girl, she was a pretty little girl, and Keyron was like falling in love already. So Keyron kind of went with her and Chris Satazio. So that left me and Coach Pope and Coach Daigle to have a little fun in Malmore's athletic complex while they were gone, doing the little recruiting things. So we go walking down the hallway, and man, we was like 3 kids in a candy store. We at the University of Alabama, being big Alabama fans. As we was going walking down the hall, man, we looked, and there was Coach Kirby Smart office. We go down a little bit farther, Coach Kevin Steele's office. Then we walk down a little bit farther, we see not a recruiting room, like a running back's room, quarterback's room. We was like, wow, man, this is so neat. And just walking and seeing all this stuff, So at this time, as the afternoon was going on, all the recruits and everything. Of course, the coaches and the team was already at Bryant Stadium. As the time went on, we looked around, and me and Coach Pope and Coach Daigle was pretty much the only high school coaches still left in the Malmore Athletic Complex.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of went from there.
Yeah.
Now I know, like, my heart's getting really excited and pumped up because I know the feeling. That's one of my favorite things as a coach's wife to get to do with you, is when we would get to take the recruits to any of the stadiums. I love that. And I love when you're going through that feel, like I'm over here feeling that,
Yeah.
walking down the hall and you're in the complex and then you're seeing all the behind the scenes. It's exciting.
Yeah.
So tell me, you saw Coach Kirby Smart's office and then you keep walking down the hall. You came straight into Coach Nick Saban's office, right?
Coach Nick Saban.
What did you do?
All right, so we got there. I'm gonna let Coach Pope, because he's got a little bit better memory about it. I can tell you more of the details once we get in Coach Nick Saban's office. But tell the audience how we got into Nick Saban's office.
Well, as we're peeking in rooms, we realize that the secretary's doors open to Coach Saban's office. So secretary's doors open. So we peek in there, and then to the right was Coach Saban's office. And lo and behold, his door was open. And
no secretary?
No secretary. There's nobody.
Nobody.
We're the only people on the second floor of the complex. And remind you again, we're huge Alabama and Nick Saban fans,
And probably not supposed to be left in the building right now at this moment.
Probably not.
Okay.
And so I think Danny was the first one to go in. And so we go in his office, and it's like going into the Holy Grail. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Like all of a sudden it goes, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. And everything's in its place. I mean, his desk is immaculate. It overlooked the weight room. You can see where he probably went and stood and watched workouts, possibly. Some signature footballs were in cases, and so forth. And again, here's three grown men in amazement of being in that kind of,
just taking it all
yeah.
in.
He said, "Hey man, look at this. Look this. Look, pictures of Nick Saban at the Dolphins. It was something about him at LSU, that all this Alabama stuff just all over the room, man. And we was just like trying to one up each other. Oh, you come look at what I just saw right here. Oh, you come see what I got." And we literally walked all around his office, and there sat his desk. I'm getting back to the desk in a second. But we were just amazed at all this, checking all this stuff out. And I kept glancing at my watch. It was getting a little bit closer to game time, but we wasn't really interested in the game. We was like having a ball in Coach Nick Saban's office, unattended. We really wasn't supposed to be in there at this time.
I can't believe the door was open and that y'all got in there.
Yeah.
And you were in his office checking everything out.
All
Well,
right.
that was my next question, was who went in first?
Well, Danny went in first. And then I went in, and then Coach Daigle was behind us, and he started, and I say this all the time, he started talking like a little girl. "Oh, we gonna get in trouble. Y'all better stop. We never gonna be able to come back. You gonna get us in trouble." And this is all he kept saying was, "Oh, yo, stop, don't stop."
We said, "Come on, man, you only live once. Let's go for it. This is Nick Saban's office. This is once in a lifetime, man."
Danny's instigating it all. Come on, Well, I mean, he was our leader, and I had to follow him. So.
He was the instigator
Right.
of the whole trip.
That's right. That's right.
So who actually sat at Nick Saban's desk in his chair first?
All right.
Because this is really about
this. Now we're getting there.
I love this part of the story. Because again, Coach Daigle, who is what, 6'2", 6'3",
easy,
275.
Yeah, well, now he weighs 210. I just talked to him the other day. But at the time, he told me he weighed. I mean, Kenny Daigle was a big man back then.
He was a big old boy.
Yeah.
And the whole time he's still going, "Y'all stop, you're gonna get us in trouble." And so after about 2 or 3 minutes of that, Danny said, all right, let's go. So we're headed out, and Danny goes, hold on a minute. And he gives me his phone. He says, take my picture.
Oh my goodness.
Danny sits in his chair and takes his picture.
Behind at Nick Saban's desk with everything out in front of him.
Exactly.
In his chair.
Sat in his chair.
His desk.
At his desk. Just sat in his chair at this time. Then I was like, well, hold on a minute. Take my picture. So Danny takes my picture. Again, Kenny Day, oh, y'all better stop. You're going to get us in trouble. Y'all better stop. And he is whining like a little baby. And so I get up. Danny says, well, no, I'm going to one-up you. So I said, what? What are you going to do? So he sits down. And what, you remember what she did next?
Oh, yeah. So after we took turns sitting at the desk, you know, like, so now I'm gonna go ahead and show you something. All right, now this is not the hat that Nick Saban wears, but this is a hat just like it. So let me slide the football back. So that hat was sitting on Nick Saban's desk. And man, we're like, oh, this is awesome. So I looked at that hat, and I had a visor on at that time. So I took Nick Saban's hat, I put it on, and boom, I put on Nick Saban's hat just like this. Man, we were high-fiving each other. I said, take my picture, Jake, take my picture. Boom, he took a picture. I took Nick Saban's hat, gave it to Coach Pope. Coach Pope put the hat on. He sit on the desk, got his picture. And guess whose turn was it next?
Yep.
Coach
We sat in his chair, not on his desk.
Right.
So again, here's a guy who is, don't go get us in trouble, better stop. The whole time, Danny said, okay, all right, let's go on. Well, Dago goes, hold on a minute. And he sits down in his chair, grabs his hat, puts it on, and then kicks his feet up on his desk.
No lie. So Kenny won the trophy. He got me and Coach Pope that day. Had the hat on, and Coach Saban's nice recliner chair, desk chair, and put his feet up on Nick Saban's desk. Oh, we got pictures. We're gonna show you the pictures.
Oh my goodness.
And look, I have a huge head. I wear like a 7 3/8, and I think maybe Coach Saban wears like a 7 1/4. And I know I stretched that hat out because I had to pull it out. Coach Daigle, he's got to wear an 8. I mean, he stretched that thing and pulled it down. I think I saw like a next day or two at Coach Saban at practice, and that hat was all the way down there with me. We all stretched it out.
I think he was at practice trying to readjust. He knew something was wrong.
Something was wrong.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So yes, we kind of broke into Coach Saban's office, got pictures, and sitting at his desk, wearing his straw hat, putting feet on his desk. We just had a ball that afternoon.
Coach Daigle put his feet. Danny and I didn't do that.
Exactly. Like he had to come from behind and then one up you with the feet on the desk and the hat on.
True story.
True story.
And they have pictures.
Oh yeah.
They have pictures. Hopefully we can add those in and show those, but I just can't imagine the feeling of being in there. First of all, knowing you weren't supposed to be there, and then taking the pictures, and you've got proof, but you've got his hat on, and you're in the GOAT's office. I mean,
hey, let me tell you,
Coach Saban, Nick Saban.
So we're like 3 kids now. One of us was standing at the door, making sure nobody wasn't. Go ahead, sit down, get this hat on. And we was playing it off just like that. It was nobody around. I don't know if they had cameras or whatever back in 07. I'm sure they do now. I know Coach Saban had a little button you push, open the door. Remember that?
Yeah.
He didn't have that back in 07 when we first got there.
Yeah,
but we was looking out for each other, man, just going through his desk, putting his hat on, and so
not going through his desk.
No,
going through his office.
Just going through the office and looking.
It's amazing. 3 grown men get into a honor or being in that environment in somebody you idolize and turn into a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
It's just that little boy and that kid all of a sudden coming out with that was somebody that you guys looked up to and still do. But what memories, what moments that y'all have, and you've held on to this for 17 years, afraid to come out with it in case.
Yeah.
you get in trouble when he was still coaching.
Mhm.
Well, I think you did win a liars contest one time because you told this story in a liars contest and everybody thought you were lying.
And no one
you-
believed
No
it.
one believed it.
And you had to tell them it was a true story.
Oh, God. that was
That's
much
so
fun.
awesome. So after getting the pictures in Coach Saban's office and at his desk, was there anything that happened next?
Absolutely. Something else happened. Coach Pope, you want to tell them what we did next?
Well, you come out the recruiting room.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
the recruiting room.
You know, there was a room, and I'm assuming it was probably their staff room, and it had the big whiteboard up with all of the positions and then all the recruits in the order that they, I assume that they liked them from top to bottom. And I mean, again, we're oohing and ahhing about being in the GOAT's presence and just an awe. It was just unbelievable. And kind of to see all the recruits' names up there they were recruiting that year.
Yeah.
There were a couple of big names, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So when we go in, this recruiting room or staff room was connected to Coach Saban's room. So you had to open the door. So yeah, we walked over there and looked and said, oh my goodness. And it was like a long table, like the Lord's table that, you know, they had the Lord's
Supper.
Yeah, the Lord's Supper. And like Coach Pope said, all these positions, everything, of course, I got my camera out and started taking pictures. I could have definitely got in trouble about that.
Oh my gosh.
Little paparazzi.
But let me tell you
Yeah.
the names that we took a picture of. So this was 07. If you're an Alabama fan, you know about the 2008 recruiting class. So running backs, number one recruit, Mark Ingram. They listed all these running backs. Had wide receivers, number one wide receiver, Julio Jones.
Oh my gosh.
DBs, Mark Barron from St. Paul's, his name was on the board. Another one's Deontay Hightower, played for the Patriots and probably still playing. His name was up there. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And all these guys signed with Alabama in 2008. Terrence Cody's name was up there. Alonzo, the kid from Georgetown, Lucedale, his name was up there. And it was just amazing, man, looking at all these national recruits. This eventually signed with Alabama in 2008, which led them for the first national championship. And a couple of years later, when they beat Texas. And but it was so fun, man. We walked around and literally taking pictures of the recruiting room and all these recruits up there sneaking in his recruiting office.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It just gets better and better. But the biggest thing I want to know is, did you guys ever make it to the game? Actually, did you make it to the game after all that?
Well, finally, I think Danny looked down and realized we were just a few minutes away from game time. And he said, boys, we need to go.
Yeah. So at that time, we didn't have a bus to transport us from the Mount Moore complex down to Bryant Stadium. So we looked at each other. Now we was a little bit younger than we are now. So we're literally, the game started, I think it was a 2:30 CBS game that day. And guys, it was almost like 2:20, 2:25, and it is packed out. Kieran and they already at the game. And me and Jay Pope and Kenny Daigle, we were running down Bear Bryant Drive, trying to get to the stadium, go up there, and finally sit down. And the game just got started. And man, we had the best time, you know.
It was exciting. It was very exciting.
Yeah. And something else. Do you remember about Ron Middleton? You know, he coached recruited Mobile.
Mhm.
Do you remember what he said about Coach Daigle? He went to Mr. Copeland at the time, the principal, about getting him in trouble and everything. He said Nick Saban, it was a joke. And so we eventually told Ron Middleton what we did. He laughed. He said, look, whatever y'all do, don't tell Coach Saban y'all did that. So don't tell nobody. So we kept it as a secret.
So it's been a secret.
Yeah. But anyway, he said, we told Kenny that our principal found out about it, which he didn't. And so Kenny, we getting ready to get fired, man. Mr. Copeland knows about us. We snuck in. We was trespassing. We getting ready to go to jail. We're going to lose our jobs. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah, he started with that little whiny boy. Oh, no, I told y'all we were going to get in trouble. I told you to stop, Danny.
Listen. Y'all got to give him a little bit of credit. He is not here to defend himself tonight. Coach Daigle, I'm taking up for you, man.
Hey, what'd you say about disclaimer?
Disclaimer, I did. In the beginning, disclaimer, don't hold it against us if we call any names. This is amazing. I love it. And I know that you've got years and years worth of stories, and that's what life is all about.
That's right.
It's moments, and it's making those memories and doing things together and not going to jail.
That's right.
But enjoying the time and the memories together. And we're still doing that. You're still making those this very day. And look how impactful that you are in all of your teams and your young athletes' lives.
Yeah.
Too. Coach, we always bring up faith. We have our favorite F words, we call them. Faith, family, fitness, like, how do you take care of yourself to continue walking out this calling? Because it is a purpose and a calling, and God's got that on your lives, because it takes something special to be coaches and to do what you guys do.
Yeah.
And so we talk about our faith, we talk about your family, and we know them very well and love them. You're a great dad and husband, as well as coach, and that takes a very special, man to be able, and very courageous to do that and handle his family life and other kids. And so we thank you for that, and thank you for, the years and the time spent with other people's kids and families.
Well, it's important to surround yourself with good people too, and that's what, and that helps too. When you surround yourself with good people and people who think like you do and have faith like you do, and have a lot of the same priorities in life. Yes,
absolutely. And we know, now more than ever, like, we can't make it without faith.
Yeah,
we know that. We have to draw from that, and our families most important under God, and then fitness and taking care of ourselves mentally and physically. Do you get in the weight room with the guys?
I don't. My specific job at UMS, I don't. I get to do some, but I do take time to walk and do some elliptical bicycling and stuff. And so yeah, it's important to balance your life, and that's probably one of the hardest things people have to learn how to do, is to balance their life and
try to
have some self-care. That way you can help take care of other people.
Yes, so important. How long have you been at UMS?
I'm finishing my 5th year at UMS.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
Well, let me say this, of course, Coach Polk works at UMS. He has to be a very special coach in order to work at UMS. I've worked with Terry Curtis, probably the best coach. He's won more games than State of Alabama, the high school coach. For him to hire Jay Polk, that says a lot about Jay Polk going to UMS. And Jay, as good as they come, man, he's a good friend of mine, great family guy. I just can't say enough about Coach Polk, man. Been knowing him a long time. He does a phenomenal job at UMS and did a great job at when I worked with him at Davidson.
Thank you.
So,
Y'all had some good times. I can't wait to continue to hear more stories, because I know you've got a lot of them.
You know what we ought to do? The new coach, the board, we need to make a trip up there, man. See if we can sneak in. What if we can pull it off for round 2?
Yeah.
I think once this gets out a little bit, y'all don't need to do that. You probably won't need to. They may have your pictures up at Mount Moore and say, these guys are not welcome in.
That's right.
So.
Well, all right, guys, it's about time to wrap it up tonight.
Yes.
So
if you enjoyed this and anything resonated with you, please hit that like and subscribe button. We are so honored that you're here with us each week, and we want to continue bringing you some fun. Along with our F words is a whole lot of football, but it's having fun too, and just lighten up and laugh a little bit. It'll make you feel better. And What about Javier Arenas though, before I forget this?
Oh,
Can we
man.
go back to that for a second? Cause you said
Yeah.
he was playing in that game.
He was playing. He plays DB for Alabama at the time, but he returned punts, returned kickoffs. He played a big special teams guy. And man, he was just electric. I mean, he reminded me a lot of Deuce, David Palmer back. I know Coach Pope remembers David Palmer, but just God, he was phenomenal, man. Just he could make a cut on a dime, can go, and he returned that punt, man. I'm telling you, I've been to quite a few Alabama games, but that particular when he returned that punt for a touchdown, it was the loudest that I've ever seen Bryant-Denny Stadium, and he returned that kick for a touchdown.
Well, I got to meet him, and we got to go coach in Germany with FCA, and Javier Arenas went with us, and that was one of the coolest trips ever. But just to hang out with him, he's so awesome.
Yeah, he is.
So we need to connect with him and see what he's doing lately.
That's right. Javier, hook us up, man. Look us up if you hear this episode tonight.
And these guys were in Saban's office while you were out on the field, man. Wow. Well, this was fun, and we appreciate you guys being here. And Jay, Coach Pope, thank you so
Coach
much.
Pope.
This was awesome, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So the secret is out. It has been revealed what these guys did in 2007.
Yeah, great time. All right,
Nick
guys.
Saban had to retire so they could tell their secret.
If he didn't retire, you would have never heard this story. It might have been 17 more years if he'd have kept coaching.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Hey, it's 4th and 2.
What you gonna do?
Hey, we see you next time.
Let's go.